The Radio Forest Podcast.
Hi, this is Richie Furay calling for Forest.
Richie, it's Forrest. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Your brand new album, tell me about this with all the country covers.
Well, it was an exciting project to make. It would not have been probably my idea. I mean, it wasn't my idea. My good friend Val Garay, who produced the record, actually came to me, and I've known Val since Buffalo Springfield days, and also he produced my 1979 I Still Have Dreams record. So we've been friends for a long time, but he came to a concert I was doing, a benefit for autism, and said, hey, do you want to make another record with me? And I said, well, yeah, man, I'd love to make another record with you. What do you have in mind? And he said, well, how about country classics or country hits? I'm not sure how he actually phrased it, but I said, well, that sounds pretty interesting. What kind of songs? And he said, well, you make a list and I'll make a list. And so we made a list. And now get this, the first song on his list was the first song on my list. If I wanted to make another record, it was a song I wanted to do, a country song called Your Love Amazes Me by John Barry. And so right then I knew we were on to something.
That's great. So then how else did you have to whittle some songs down?
We actually did 14 songs. 2 of them are called bonus tracks, whatever that means. I'm not sure what that means in today's in today's music, but one of those are picking up the pieces that I wrote, and George Strait, I Cross My Heart. Both of those are bonus tracks, but the other 12 songs, actually all 14 songs. We did 14 songs in 4 days at Blackbird Studio out in Nashville, Tennessee. And, the list wasn't that much, wasn't really that much longer. There were a few songs, obviously, that we cut off because we each put like 10 songs in, 20, and had to nail it down. But these were the songs, and pretty much, the songs are songs that I had, they had some kind of special place in my heart. They administered to me at some point in time, and, that's what we ended up doing. And we didn't want to do karaoke. We wanted to make these songs my own. Val was really helpful in that, and it was just a great project and a fun project. We actually made it in 2019, November of 2019, and then COVID hit and just slowed everything down.
Now, Val also, he did some stuff with Linda Ronstadt, of course, has that great relationship with the Eagles. You've got Timothy B. Schmidt, who you worked with in Poco, and he also is on this too, as is Randy Meisner's connection. So my question to you is, with such a deep connection on the Eagles, just from this album, not mentioning your entire career, have you just kind of always been around each other in different circles? I mean, you and members of the Eagles or the Eagles as a group themselves?
Well, let's put it this way. When I was rehearsing Poco, before there ever was an Eagle, Glenn Fry came over and sat on my living room floor and listened while we rehearsed. He caught on to what we were doing, and then let's just say he took my bass player and then took it to the limit.
And you guys do have some sonic similarities in Poco, and also, of course, with this release, they can't be categorized so easily. It's not just rock, and it's not just country. They kind of exist somewhere in between. So were you guys kind of coming up with that sound at the same time, or do you think that's a style that's really always existed and the Eagles just kind of made it bigger?
Well, you know what? I'll put it this way, because I'm credited with, along with the Byrds and with Graham Parsons of the Flying Burrito Brothers, of starting the California country rock sound. But you know what? What we did was we just kind of revitalized that which was kind of laying dormant for many years. I mean, when you go back to country music and you think of guys like Eddie Cochran and Gene Vincent, Carl Perkins, they were doing what was called rockabilly, and it was really country rock. And they were just doing it from a country perspective and doing music that they liked. And so, that's really what Poco did. We just were doing country and we were doing rock. We added a steel guitar, obviously, with Rusty Young. That's how our sound kind of evolved.
Now, I don't want to go too far and talk trash and anything, but don't you feel like maybe the current country music scene is missing a little bit of that grit, though, like the Carl Perkins and the stuff had?
Well, if you want to know the truth about it, yes. Yeah.
I miss that.
No, I feel like some of country music today is homogenized a little bit. So I don't know. That's just my own personal feeling. And I hope, when you person listens to this, they won't hear that. I've always kind of had my own feel, my own style, and certainly the bands that I've played with when I've recorded my music, whether it was a band of mine or since 1996, I've recorded in Nashville with different musicians, pretty much the same musicians until this particular record. But, they know what my sound is, and they adapt to it, and that's what we come up with.
And this one was done in Nashville, too. You're at the Blackbird Studio, which I'm not super familiar with, but I know Pearl Jam and Neil Young and Dolly Parton and Beck and Snoop and Springsteen have all recorded there. What makes this such a good studio? With how much equipment's out today, I imagine every studio can be a good studio, but why is this one seemingly above the rest? You know,
when they build these things, and I'm not that technically minded myself, I know the room is very accommodating that we recorded in. John McBride owns the studio. That's Martina's husband. He has such a good ear for sound. He took us into various different rooms to listen to projects that he had done, and some studios just have that sound. I've recorded in Quad. I've recorded in House of Blues out there in Nashville, and those are all really good studios. And a lot of it has to do with, the engineers and being able to just get the sound, the producers getting the sound too. But a room, it's Blackbird was very comfortable. It was a very comfortable room. The people there were very accommodating, and so we got the sound we wanted. Of course, Val Gray is a terrific engineer in his own right, and so he knew what he wanted when he went in. And so that's I leave that kind of stuff pretty much up to the producer.
Any chance you've seen Neil Young's recording studio in the barn that I think is somewhat new? I think his last album was recorded there. Any chance you've seen that?
No, I haven't. I'll have to ask him about it. I'm going to see him in about a week.
So you've talked to Neil Young recently. Did you guys have to discuss the Spotify thing at all? Because I know Buffalo Springfield is still on Spotify. So is that something he said, this doesn't include me, or how does that work out?
You know what? I have no idea. Neil marches to his own drum.
yeah.
And you know what? If he wants to remove his music, then that's his prerogative there. He hasn't mentioned that to me.
Let me ask you another question then about Neil and Buffalo Springfield. So you're inducted with Buffalo Springfield into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in '97, and I think Neil went in before that as a solo artist. Mm-hmm. So when he went in as a solo artist, no problem, but then Buffalo Springfield was televised, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but wasn't as big of a fan of it. Did he talk to you about that change of heart, or was it, again, that's Neil Young and that's what he does?
Well, Neil didn't show up when we were inducted. He stayed home. So he didn't come when Buffalo Springfield was inducted. And then Stephen looked over at me and he said, "Well, Rich, he did it again."
But you're going to see him in a couple of weeks or a week or two, you said?
Stephen and Neil and I are getting together. I've got a documentary that's coming out next year. We're doing a little interview together. Stephen and I have already done one together, and now Neil's going to join in with us. We're going to get together out in California in a couple of weeks and do that.
Is this the Richie Furay documentary you've been working on for a couple of years?
Yeah, it is, and it's getting wrapped up now. We're just doing some final interviews right now and getting Stephen and Neil together, and me. That really is like a very special one. We've gotten so many good interviews, but we really needed this one, and just this time, and everything that's been going on the last couple of years. It's been hard to organize everything, but we finally got it together.
I don't want to answer my own question because I imagine who knows what the future's going to do. And you guys have been through this 100 times, you, Stephen, and Neil. But I know Buffalo Springfield had gotten together a couple of times. Things were going good, then you kind of drift apart, and who knows what's going on. If you three are going to be in the same place around the same time, do you think there'd be any possibility of discussing that again, or is that depends on which way the wind blows?
Well, yeah, I think, what we did 10 years ago pretty much wrapped it up. I don't think there'll ever be another. I mean, even at that, when we went out with Joe Vitale and Rick Rosas, Rick has since passed away, and I think we're just all kind of past that now.
So what about Poco? Is that door kind of closed too, or is that sort of the same?
Yeah, that door's closed too. I mean, obviously with Rusty and Paul passing away last year, that's kind of, I think it's hard to talk about. These things I think are pretty much, going by.
What about taking these country covers out on the road? Can you do a set just of these? Or you're like, if I don't play Buffalo Springfield and Poco, people will be disappointed? Or can you just go, you know what, this is a different thing, I'm doing these country covers?
When I go out, I have to play everything. I'll start with Buffalo Springfield, do Poco, do Souther Hillman Furay, do my solo material. And then, I just came back from New York last week, and we did a set. I think we put 4 of these songs in the set, and then the rest of it, is just my history. I have to play my history.
Well, I just saw Bob Dylan, and he doesn't do that. Is he like the only guy? I was watching Bob Dylan live thinking, other bands must see what he does and be a little jealous because he's so artistic. He's like, I'm not playing the hits. I'll play what I want. I'll play it in the style I want. You might not even recognize the song until the chorus. Deal with it.
I know.
Can you do that? Damn it, he's really got his own thing.
I just do what I do. And what I like to do is I like to mix it up. I like to play, I'll play new songs that people haven't heard before that I've just recently written or something, but I still want to play the songs that I know people want to hear me play. We were finishing up the other night in New York, and I hadn't put in my set. I hadn't put On the Way Home in the set. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. It's from Buffalo Springfield, and somebody hollered out, "Hey, how about On the Way Home?" And so we played On the Way Home. Pretty much I just do, what I feel like doing that night. I mean, I'll have a set list, and the band's ready to go, and so we just play those songs, and I have to kind of touch bases with every facet of my career from Springfield on through, and I think that people enjoy that. They get to really walk through history with me.
There's got to be songs that once you've written, you probably have never played again, and so if you want to throw it into the set, you got to go back and relearn that song, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Are there any that you don't think you've ever performed live, or at least haven't done in quite a while? I mean, surely there's got to be. Just the amount of work that you have, you can't do them all.
No, I can't. And, I try to do the more familiar ones, but then also I try to do the ones that, just are kind of special to me. I've played songs that I never thought I would ever play before, like Crazy Eyes. We've played that live. I've played a song called, just recently now, the band I'm playing with has played Stand Your Guard, which is on one of my solo records. So there are songs that I'll revitalize and have to learn myself again. But these are songs maybe that just kind of had there's something I wanted to do, and so we just learned them. It's
the new album, In the Country. Richie, did you decide that this should also be released on vinyl, or is that out of your hands, the label, or someone else goes, this is how we're going to release it? Question being, is that a reliable revenue stream? Because I think it's kind of expensive to make vinyl. Do you get that money back, or you're like, I don't know, they do what they do? Well,
that was one of the reasons it held the record up after we recorded it in 2019, just getting vinyl. And it was BMG. It's released on BMG, and so they're the ones that really decided they wanted to put it out on vinyl, and I'm glad they did because I can call it a record now.
Yeah. Well, I wondered. That makes sense because I knew there was such a delay in making it, like up to 2 years. That makes sense that you're like, oh, yeah, this was done a couple of years ago. We were waiting for everything to get, kind of put down on tape.
COVID knocked everything out of the block.
Now, how was the Grand Ole Opry recently? You were there, right?
Yeah, it was a great and wonderful experience. I was so, I just really enjoyed it so much. Standing in that circle where so many just idols, from Hank Williams to Johnny Cash, stood in that little circle, and I got a chance to stand in that circle and sing some songs myself. It was wonderful.
Well, I imagine it's like the original House of Blues. There's got to be so many people in the audience that just kind of like live in the area. It's an iconic venue. They're like, oh, Richie Furay, I'll swing in and see that. Did you notice anybody standing out in the crowd? Or is it like the Grand Ole Opry is going to have those people there, or was it just your run-of-the-mill show?
Well, I think the Grand Ole Opry is going to have those people there. Boy, I looked out in the audience, and I had people that travel all the way from my hometown. Not my hometown, but where I live now in Colorado out there to see it as well. So it was pretty unique, pretty great experience, and quite an honor that I'd be able to stand on that stage and sing my music.
Well, RichieFuray.com. You can also go to Amazon.com. Streaming CD, vinyl, and digital in the country. Richie Furay, Buffalo Springfield, Poco. And Richie, thank you for chatting with me today, man. I always appreciate talking to you.
Forrest, thank you so much.